So the backgrounds, I want to pan them.
You do the background. Well, yeah, we're gonna pan, but you gotta process them first.
I told you I'm trying to go.
So
I want you to process it. So look, first things first. You have 4 background tracks, but you need to
3. One is an ad-lib.
Okay, my bad. So we need to create a bus. We just created or an aux track. We just created an aux, right?
And that's where we do our plugins at, basically.
Yeah. So here goes BVs. Let's call it BV vocals. The output. We want to make sure the output goes to our mix bus as well. And then highlight all of these tracks. Hold Shift Option. You see on the output, we don't want that
to the actual
we want all the BVs. Yep. So here goes the where is it at? BVs. Boom. So now all of these blue tracks right here. Let's color code these actually. So right here you can click instead of blue. Let's just do like something else so we know that.
I usually do orange for backgrounds.
I'm gonna do orange. So then they're going to the BVs. So if we mute this, we're not gonna hear no BVs.
From the world, still I pop and weave.
Right? But if we put these in, another thing you do is group these, right? So Command G, group them. So if I click solo, so you see them coming through. Mute it. So first thing, I just want you to process these background vocals so that they blend in with the leads. But I don't want you to touch the leads at all. Okay. Volume-wise, plugin-wise, the beat and the leads, you gotta leave. So now...
So I gotta adjust the backgrounds to the leads.
Now your goal is to mix the backgrounds to where the lead vocal and the beat are.
Deep, like Nib said, it's a marathon, not a cheat code. Every setback, got a setup, now I reload. South Central roots, but I'm global with the G code. Ollie with the angles when I strike, it's beast.
Pause 1 second, I just wanna show you. Right now you're in group, so you're bringing down
all of them at once.
Yeah, so I don't know if you wanna do that. So let me take them off group.
I got fire in my soul, I don't rock with grief. I done seen too many fall for they find their feet. So I stand for something real every time I speak. Put my life in these lines, let the crowd repeat. Every bar a revolution, this ain't mild, it's deep. Like Niv said, it's a marathon, not a cheat code. Every setback, got a setup, now I reload. South Central roots, but I'm global with the G code. Ollie with the angles.
So the reason why you don't want your level all the way almost to the top, almost to the red, is because there's no headroom.
Right, I wasn't even looking over.
Once you put plugins on there, you may get some volume difference and you want space. Because you don't want to start putting on plugins and then
it starts clipping.
So basically, you see that little knob right here on the bottom left corner, that's your clip gain. So you can bring that, or that's your trim. So you can bring that down and just bring down the waveform. You know, generally you can visually kind of make them match.
When I strike, it's
yeah, so I'm gonna use this top one for reference. So I wanna bring this.
It doesn't have to be, you don't gotta be super like anal with the visual of it. As long as it's not.
Nah, cause then now I know they're at least around the same level.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's beast mode, floating over trauma like I'm made for more. They can't break me, I done bled through metaphors. Got my city in my chest, I'm a soldier of war, and I'm fighting.
So one thing I would recommend for you is to listen to, like as you're doing that blend, listen to all of them in there.
All of them together?
Yeah, because when you're only listening to one, like you gotta remember these are stacked on top of each other.
All right.
So if you're only listening to the one, your backgrounds in general are gonna sound quieter because you actually have 3 or 4 that are saying the same thing at the same time.
Right, so, and I was gonna say that's another thing is I wanted to send them in different directions so that they're not stacked on right.
In Pro Tools?
Not in here. It's usually
so here,
right
these are stereo tracks. That's why it's 100 left, 100 right.
Okay, because I'm like usually it's just one and you just send it to what?
100 left and 100 right is the same as what?
As censored.
Exactly. So if you want something slightly to the left or the right, you gotta pan one of those sides, like.
So I want that one.
You gotta pan one of those sides slightly off, right? So you just pan, yeah.
Feet, so I stand for something real every time I speak. Put my life in these lines, let the crowd repeat. Every bar a revolution, this ain't mild, it's deep. Like Niv said, it's a marathon, not a cheat code. Every setback, got a setup, now I reload. South Central roots, but I'm global with the G code. Ollie with the angles when I strike, it's beast mode. Floating over trauma like I'm made for more. They can't break me, I done bled through metaphors. Got my city in my chest, I'm a soldier of war. And I'm fighting for my people till they open the doors.
It's a good blend. Well, do you know what you would do next?
We would add a compress. Well, no, I don't think we would want to compress these right now, no.
Why wouldn't you?
I think because we kind of got them to a certain level.
We got them to a level, but...
But no, we would want to compress them because we wanted to bring them together to where they're kind of more similar in sound too.
Yeah, so to summarize what you're saying, what I think you're saying is like, yeah, you do want to compress them. Compression is good. You want to make the level of these a bit more consistent.
Right.
So, for example...
We don't want to compress too much though.
No. So notice when you were trying to find the level of any one of these background vocals, you were like, at one point you're like, ooh, -19 was good, but then something would peak out, right? And then you're like, shit, let me bring it down. And then you're like, oh, it's too quiet now, I gotta bring it up.
So we want to keep it.
This is why you compress.
Consistent.
Exactly. You compress to get a more even, consistent level. And I showed you which compressor is really great at that.
The 2A.
Come on now, so let's use it.
So I'll be on BBs.
Yeah, just throw the 2A on there. So already, it might be compressing a little bit. So press play.
Metaphors, got my city in my chest, I'm a soldier of war.
So we're not compressing at all. So to start compressing, you just gotta increase the peak reduction.
And I'm fighting for my people till they open the doors.
So you wanna see that needle moving a little bit.
Sting like the pain,
Not too much.
like I'm Cassius Clay.
That's cool.
I don't duck no fade.
That's good, actually. Good thing.
Let the legacy stay.
So do a before and after.
Long live the slain.
Put it in.
I'm from that cloth, no stain.
So one thing that's very important when you're doing any type of EQ, but especially compression, because usually this is where it happens the most, is gain compensation. Right. So you don't want your volume to be way louder after this. You want it to be the same.
So I would want to bring this down.
Keep the faith in play.
But do it before and after so you can know.
Call me Cassius Clay. Undisputed, undefeated, in my mind first.
So you gotta bring your volume down just a little bit more. Go on the chorus though, where there's no lead vocal.
Like I'm Cassius Clay.
Listen to the before.
I don't duck no fade.
Yeah, that's good.
Let the legacy stay.
I would even compress a little bit more.
Long live the slain. I'm from that cloth, no stain.
You can press a little bit more.
Keep the faith in play.
Yeah.
Call me Cassius Clay. Undisputed and
so at that threshold where you just compressed, that was a good point because it felt like the vocals dynamically were just, as you said,
they were in a smooth line.
Just very smooth, just like leveled. Right. That's what we call leveled. So if you're ever trying to level some background vocals, boom, there you go. But when it comes to making your lead vocal like sound aggressive and forward and all those things, then definitely use that 76. At least for most, I would say most rap stuff. The CLA 2A works really well on lead vocals when you're doing R&B.
Okay.
Like singing, like more smooth stuff.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? All right, so now that you compress the backgrounds, what would you do next?
EQ? No, DS. No,
well,
we don't need a DS really. We would EQ because they're already stacked in a stereo.
The main thing is how do they sound now and how do you want them to sound? You gotta have a vision for how you want them to sound first.
Undefeated in my mind first. They ain't give me no crown. I had to find worth.
So do you want them brighter? Do you want them fuller? Do you want them like how do you want them to sound?
I think they could be
from the block where survival is the ground. Work.
I feel like they could be fuller.
Fuller.
So we would use that. Will we use that the CLA thing? And why?
So when you say fuller,
no. When I say fuller, I mean
fuller than you probably.
More like I was saying, more roomy, more around, more stereo. I feel like they're still kind of
more stereo.
I feel like they're still kind of just placed in front of me.
Well, they don't have any reverb,
right?
So that's a good place to start. Right now they're just dry. So you may want to give them. All right, and this is a key thing too, bro. Don't give the same reverb to your backgrounds as you did your lead.
Right.
The reason is because
they're clash.
Think of this: if you got a group of 3 background singers over here and you got a lead vocalist, if they're all in the same room, it's harder to tell who's who, right? But if the lead vocal is in this room and you understand the sound of that person in that room with your eyes closed. And then your little 3 background vocalists are in a different room, and you know that room sounds whole different, so they're sounding different. With your eyes closed, you can understand and distinguish the two a lot more, right? But if they're both in the same room, they sound a lot more similar. So don't give your background vocals
the same reverb.
It's not a hard rule, but I would say in general, don't give them the same reverb as the lead vocal.
Okay.
So I wouldn't just send this plate reverb. I wouldn't just put this plate reverb on your background as well. I would use a different reverb.
Okay.
So you want to set that up?
That makes a lot of sense too, especially with one of them to be different because they stand out differently.
Mm-hmm. Right now you're on a sends, so and we don't have another reverb set up. So you actually got to put the reverb on the aux channel itself. Unless you want to set up a new one, you can.
So we have to put it on here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just go reverb. So right now we're using a plate. So I would switch it up. I would just do something else besides a plate. So you want to use this one?
Yeah, I know this is one that I see. What's the name?
So this reverb is modeled. I'm not completely 1,000% sure, but by the looks of it, this is modeled after like a hardware unit. And a hardware unit is an emulation of a reverb. It's not like a real reverb. Which is fine. Like they have their own sound. But if you want to use like, for example, this Abbey Road's plates. This is a unit this is a famous unit in the Abbey Road studio that models the actual physical plate reverb. Like I bet you didn't know plate reverb is actually like a physical thing. You know what I mean? So depending on the sound you're going for, you can get into something like that, or you can get into a chamber. A chamber is a room.
Yeah, I was gonna say that looks like a room.
There's a room. So what they do in here is, you see these microphones? Mm-hmm. These microphones are actually what is capturing your reverb sound. So like, and you could do this too, like anywhere. What they're doing is they're taking a speaker, they're putting a speaker in a room. They're playing you're playing your vocal through the speaker in that very reverberant room. The room is recording the sound of the room. The mics is recording the sound of the room.
That's dope. So it's like, this is like going to like a fucking canyon or something and actually,
kind of, yeah.
And then you picking up that actual sound like that. You picking it up naturally.
Yes.
Instead of, like you said, with the hardware stuff.
The hardware is emulating it. Yeah. Simulating a reverb sound, where these are all plugins, so we're all simulating something. But this is simulating like a real thing versus this other one is simulating essentially another simulation.
Right.
Simulate
the simulator.
yeah, simulating the simulator. But this is actual simulating like the actual reverb chamber in the Abbey Road studios. So you just got to know what kind of sound you're going after. Right. Every single reverb has a different sound. So you just, the more you play with these different reverbs, you'll get familiar. But for example, let's just use the chambers. So we'll just call this a chamber. And then on the sends right here, we need to do track, and then we need to go to chamber. And then the easiest way to know what something sounds like is don't even touch it yet. Just send some signal to it. Mm-hmm. And just see what it sounds like. So let's do that first. It's dry.
Still I bob and weave.
Okay, let's send some signal.
And now my pockets breathe.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't block belief.
So I think the biggest thing that you want to mess with, the first thing I think of when I start messing with the delay or the reverb side, is the tail.
Right.
Usually that's the
end. That's the most noticeable part.
Usually that's the thing that people mess with the most first.
This ain't mild, it's deep. Not a cheat code.
Yeah.
It's the feedback. So the feedback is going to sound more natural like in a hall, but this is a chamber. So you can imagine if the sound is continually echoing in there, that's why you're hearing that. That's why you're hearing that sound.
I done bled through metaphors.
And one of the best ways that I try to teach people reverb is like, you just want to make your voice sound like it's in a more expensive space.
Right.
So if you listen here, dry.
I'm a soldier of war.
Like, it's a good recording, but it sounds like anyone could capture that.
Yeah.
Whereas this sound,
Till they open the doors.
Well, yeah.
not everyone is getting
One
that
sounds
sound.
like you can get it off a phone. One sounds like you actually, like you said, have to go to Sony or something.
Exactly. So one really good way to think about reverbs is like just put your voice in a space that makes your voice just sound more expensive, more elevated. You know, sometimes you do want a reverb like that's super long. It's more like an effect. But in this instance, you just want a reverb that makes it sound like you recorded in like a more professional space. Now it's more expensive.
Every bar a revolution, this ain't mild, this deep. Like Nip said, it's a marathon, not a cheat code. Every setback, got a setup, now I reload. Substance.
Hey, I hope you guys have learned something from today's video. I would love to hear your thoughts, so comment below and I'll check those out. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the future videos coming up. My name is Princeton Brown. I'm a producer and mixing engineer based in Los Angeles, and I would love to hear from you. If you have a brand new song that you're working on and would love a mix on by me, send it my way. I would also love to give you feedback on the mixes that you're working on, so please send those my way. Last but not least, I have a free mini course called 6 Mix Finalizers. All of this information is in the description below. Thank you guys again for tuning in and watching. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.
Sonic Gold Production.